Hi guys, in this episode I will summarize the storyline of the film Venom, which was released in 2018. Directed by Ruben Fleischer, and starring Tom Hardy, Michelle Williams, Riz Ahmed, and many other cool actors. So this Venom film is the first solo film from Sony, and of course in collaboration with the Marvel studio, which later this Venom film will enter the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Okay, without further ado, let's get straight into the storyline. The film opens by showing Sin at a biotechnology company called Life Foundation. This company is sending some astronauts into space to discover a new world for humans. The astronauts then found a comet filled with symbiotic life and managed to capture 4 samples of the species. When the astronauts traveled back to Earth, one of the symbiosis managed to get out and cause the plane to lose control, which in the end the plane crashed into the forest area of Borneo, East Malaysia. A few hours later, Malaysian paramedics and Life Foundation personnel arrived to evacuate the victim as well as the 3 surviving species. Of several astronauts, one astronaut managed to survive named Jameson. He was immediately taken to the hospital using an ambulance. While on the way, Jameson suddenly woke up with a blank stare. Then he attacked the medics who made the ambulance overturn. One of the medics named Corinne then got out of the car with a blank stare. His broken bones healed instantly. It turned out that symbiosis had entered Corinne's body and made Corinne his host. On the other hand, in San Francisco, an engaged couple named Eddie Brock and Anne Weying are going to work. Anne is a lawyer while Edie works as a journalist or a well-known news reporter in her city. At that time, Edie was called by his boss named Yal. Here Yal asked Edie to interview Carlton Drake, who is the CEO of Life Foundation. Yal also asks Edie to dig up information about his spaceship program, in which Drake tries to convince the public that his plane crash was an anomaly. Edie finally agrees to interview Carlton Drake. Long story short, at night Edie woke up from her sleep. Edie then idly opens Anne's laptop. Here Edie finds a secret email from the law firm, which contains preparations for the defense of the Life Foundation lawsuit that recruits homeless people as experimental material, where the experiment can end in death. Edie will use this information as a question when interviewing Drake. The next morning Edie goes to the Life Foundation facility and starts interviewing Carlton Drake. In the opening interview, Edie discusses the achievements of the Drake, who became a great entrepreneur at a young age. However, when midway through the interview, Edie begins to ask questions that offend the experimental victim. This angers Drake and causes a bit of a commotion. Drake orders security to get Eddie out. After that incident, Eddie was called Yal. Here Yal was very disappointed with Edie because Edie did not work according to the established procedure. Plus Edie asked about the victim of an experiment which was not necessarily true, and finally Edie was fired. Edie goes to Anne's workplace and finds that Anne was also fired from the law firm, because confidential information about the trial victim was revealed. Annoyed with Edie's actions, Anne breaks off her relationship with Edie and returns her engagement ring to Edie. In the afternoon, a convoy of cars can be seen heading to the Life Foundation, the group carrying 3 capsules containing foreign organisms. Then elsewhere, a female officer is seen heading towards the crowd eating live eels and causing riots. He killed anyone who bothered him. Then the woman approached an old woman and was seen touching the old woman's body, and made the old woman stand up straight and start walking. 6 months later, in the Life Foundation laboratory, they tested the biological interactions of the organisms they brought from outer space. Now that organism is called a symbiosis, and it seems that the symbiosis has succeeded in symbiosis with rabbits. The Drake who saw it looked happy. He said that symbiotes can survive on Earth with a suitable host. It is possible that humans can also survive in outer space if they are in symbiosis with that symbiotes. Then the Drake ordered to conduct trials on humans. A scientist named Dora Skirth seems hesitant and doesn't want to experiment on humans, but Drake will experiment on humans anyway. Elsewhere, Edie is seen at a bar regretting her fate. Then she decides to go home because she saw Drake on TV. On the street, Edie greets Maria. Bum on the side of the road, Edie gives Maria $20. Then Edie went to Mrs. Chen's shop to buy something. When Edie was choosing something, Edie saw someone rob Mrs. Chen and she pointed a gun. Edie could only watch from a distance without being able to do anything. When Edie got home, Edie was seen getting various bills. Then Edie tried to call looking for work, but no one received Edie. Then Edie tried to calm down by meditating, but suddenly there was a rumbling sound of guitar that made Edie annoyed and angry. It was a really tough day for Edie. Moved to the Life Foundation laboratory. There the Drake led an experiment to unite symbiosis with humans. Drake then included a volunteer. Seen the symbiote start to come out of the tube and slowly approach the volunteer. Symbiote entered from the volunteer's chest. For a moment nothing happened, but then the volunteer felt excruciating pain. His body was crushed from the inside and a symbiote emerged from the body of the deceased volunteer. The next day Edie went shopping as usual. She was seen talking to someone. She was Dora Skirth. She revealed that she needed Edie's help to uncover the crimes committed by Drake, namely sacrificing volunteers to be used as guinea pigs, but Edie refused to help Dora because Edie knew that Drake was a very dangerous person. Then Dora left her business card in case Edie changed her mind. Seen Edie paying attention the house of his ex-lover. Anne, who had just returned from somewhere, was seen meeting with Eddie. Anne is seen getting a new partner, a surgeon named Louis. Here Anne is still angry with what Edie has done before. Then Edie walks alone and stops on the edge of the bridge looking at the Life Foundation. After reflecting on what happened to him, Eddie decides to be willing to help Dora. Eddie then contacted Dora and Dora take Edie to Life Foundation headquarters to gather evidence of the crimes that the Drake had committed. When he was about to enter the lab, suddenly a security guard appeared. Dora then tackled security and Edie entered the lab alone. In the lab, when Eddie was collecting evidence, Edie found one of the homeless people who used to greet him on the street, Maria. Then Edie tried to open the lab door by hitting it with the available tools. The door opened successfully. Maria immediately jumped and strangled Edie. The symbiote that was in Maria's body moved to Edie's body. Then, because the security alarm went off, Edie running to escape. Looks, Edie has an unusual strength. He can easily avoid the pursuit of officers. Edie seemed to be able to break through the guardrail and run into the wilderness. It didn't stop there. The officers were still chasing Edie into the forest. In the end, they lost track of Edie. They don't know that Edie is hiding in a tree.
It just got back.
When he got home, Edie looked very hungry and thirsty. He ate whatever was there until he ate the leftovers in the trash. Edie looked in the mirror. In the mirror, Edie's face changed, and hearing a voice from inside his body call his name, Eddie jumped up and passed out. Meanwhile, in the Life Foundation lab, the Drake looks angry because one of the symbiotes is missing. Then one of the scientists showed that there was a volunteer who was able to survive with one of the symbiotes in his body, but the Drake still ordered his men to look for the missing symbiote elsewhere in the airport, looking at the old granny that the symbiote entered before, looking at a small child. We return to Edie. In the afternoon, she met Anne, who was having lunch at a restaurant, to show evidence of the crime that the Drake had committed. There, Edie behaved strangely by eating other people's food, and plunged himself into a pool containing lobster. Then Edie ate the lobster. Louis, his girlfriend Anne, who is a doctor, then took Edie to the hospital for examination. At the hospital, Edie was laid on an MRI device to be examined. When Louis tried to start the MRI engine, Edie and his symbiote looked in pain. Louis then turned off the MRI engine.
Here, look at me, you okay?
Meanwhile, at the Life Foundation, Drake is visited by his subordinates who have captured Dora, and learns that Dora was involved in a lab violation a few days ago. Drake then interrogates Dora, and Dora's troops say that Edie was the one who took Drake's symbiote, after which Drake was seen opening the tube containing the symbiote. When Edie opened the door, Drake's men asked for their symbiotes back. Unexpectedly, Edie was able to paralyze them easily with the power of the symbiotes in his body.
What the hell?
Drake, who saw the video of the chase, was amazed by what Edie did. According to Drake, Edie had symbiotic with his symbiosis. Edie then fled using his motorbike. There was a pretty exciting chase on the streets. With the power of the symbiote in his body, Edie was able to avoid all attacks from Drake's men. When Edie was off guard, he was hit by Drake's men from the side. Edie looks injured and his leg is broken. Then a symbiote appears from inside Edie's body. Instantly, all the wounds and broken bones in Edie's body healed back to normal. The original form of the symbiote in Edie's body was seen. The symbiote ate the head of one of Drake's men, then fled to avoid the police and plunged into the sea. Edie managed to escape. In hiding, Edie talks to the symbiote inside his body and reveals that he is named Venom. Venom says that he wants to pick up his nation using Drake's rocket, which will be launched again, and they about to rule the earth. Then a child who has been entered by symbiotes has arrived at the San Francisco airport. At the Life Foundation laboratory, looks, Dora and symbiotes are coming out, both of the same as dead. Drake, who saw it, looked annoyed because one of the symbiote is dead. Elsewhere, Edie tries to get into the news agency where he worked before. With the help of Venom, Edie enters the building by climbing the building to the top. Venom enters a room that is Eddie's previous workplace, where Edie leaves evidence of Drake's crime. Edie wants her boss to publish the Drake crime. When out of the building, there were many police officers blocking Edie. Then Venom emerged from his body, which easily destroyed the officers. When the Venom tried to eat one of the policemen, Anne saw it. Edie tried to explain. Then Anne took Edie to the hospital. Moving to the Life Foundation laboratory, Drake saw a small child in his laboratory. When asked, the child was seen strangling Drake's neck. There was seen a symbiote moved from the child's body into the Drake's body. At the hospital, Lewis tells Edie that Edie's internal organs are getting damaged, but inside Edie's body Venom says that he can heal Edie. Venom, who is annoyed, then strangles Lewis' neck. Anne, who saw the incident, immediately start the engine MRI, then makes Venom hurt and out of Edie's body. Edie is pulled out of the room and finally Edie can be free from Venom. Here it looks Venom coming out through the air holes. Then Venom enters the body of a dog. When Edie tries to get out of the hospital, he is blocked by Drake's troops who easily catch him, who is weak without Venom in his body. Inside the Life Foundation office, Drake interrogated Edie where Venom is at. Edie refused to answer Drake, who lost his temper, again asked with a show of the symbiote's face in his body. The symbiote, named Riot, realized that Edie was not worthless anymore. Drake ordered his troops to kill Edie. His troops then brought Edie inside Forest. Meanwhile, in the laboratory, Riot ordered them to immediately launch the rocket in order to pick up Millions Nation to Earth to rule the Earth. In the forest, Edie, who was almost killed by the Drake army, suddenly saved by a foreign figure. It turns out that the figure is a Venom that entered Anne's body, and Venom also moved from inside Anne's body back to Edie's body. Venom orders Edie to prevent Riot. Inside the Life Foundation, Drake orders his men to immediately launch his rocket. Realizing one of his men is trying to thwart the rocket launch, Drake then turns into Riot and kills people. At that moment everyone was scared and ran away. But the rocket launch has already started. When he is almost close to the rocket, Riot blocks Venom and a fight takes place there. In the fight, Riot is too strong to enter Edie's body and take over Venom. They unite under Riot's control. When Riot was about to enter the plane, there was a very loud buzzing sound. Riot was in pain and Venom was able to be free from Riot's snare. It turned out that it was Anne who made the sound from the control room. It looks like Edie and Drake are free from their respective symbiotes. Eddie had time to kick Drake and fell, but Edie's guess was wrong. Riot, who was united with Drake, stabbed Edie from behind. Riot then rushed into the plane, which immediately slid. When Edie was dying, Venom emerged from the vent and entered Edie's body. Venom got up and chased Riot. Then Venom tore the rocket fuel tank. When the rocket exploded, killing Riot, who was in it, Venom, who couldn't stand the fire, had time to say goodbye to Edie. Edie then fell into the sea. The next day, Edie was seen talking to Anne. They were talking about work and Venom. Then a Venom voice came from inside Edie's body. It turns out that Venom isn't dead yet. On the way, Edie talked to Venom so as not to eat people carelessly. Venom was forbidden to eat good people. Then Edie entered Mrs. Chen's shop and bought some food for Venom. There was seen a man robbed Mrs. Chen and pointed a gun at her. Then Venom came to the person and ate the person's head. At the end of Sin, seen Edie entering San Quentin prison to meet someone to interview, a serial killer named Cletus Casati. That person said when he was free there would be a carnage or massacre. And this Venom movie ends, guys. Hope you guys are entertained with the storyline that I bring, and always, thank you for watching.